Okay, everybody, this is Jason Eagle, your natural health authority, with another Healing Matters. We're talking today about magnesium. This is Facebook and this is YouTube. Hi, everybody. Jason Eagle, strategichealing.us. On Facebook, I am Strategic Healing. On YouTube, I'm Jason Eagle QRA. On the podcast, you can go to Healing Matters, all one words, and I'm on all the podcast platforms. So we're talking today about magnesium. Last week we talked about sodium, salt, and let me give you a little bit of update. I've actually had a lot of people respond and actually make some online orders for the salt, the pink salt, which is not a Himalayan pink salt. This is a true pink salt in the sense that it is a fresh, hand harvested Mediterranean sea salt that's mixed with a pink Hawaiian alea clay, which is this Hawaiian alea clay comes from volcanoes, and it's super mineralized, and it gives great flavor, but it's more minerals than even just pure sea salt. Why is that so important? And today we're talking about magnesium. I referred to it back last time, but I'm going to do it because minerals are so important. Why this year? Why anytime? Because we have been sweating like crazy and people have been working. But the thing is magnesium is something that is useful all year round. You get a lot of people that, like in my practice, I do a lot of body work, kind of like a chiropractor or like a physical therapist, and you'll see people certain times of years where you get certain injuries. Okay. And one of the injuries that we see, like cyclical, is especially when I was up in Michigan, up north, is when people were, for instance, backing out of the driveway and with snow and things like that. But any time of year, it's backing out of the driveway, also reaching in the back seat to grab a briefcase or a purse or something like that. And they pull a muscle, or they get stuck and their neck gets stuck. And so I have to undo their neck. This just happened to me maybe about a month and a half ago or something like that, maybe a little bit less, but it was when it was super hot. And we live down in Tennessee, and we're building fences. And so building fences, whether you're doing it in a tractor or you're doing it with a post hole digger, it's a lot of work. And especially when it's hot. And I noticed that, like, for instance, when I was in the tractor and I was turning around and I was backing up, is there such a thing as using magnesium quicker than most? I seem to be depleted, and it seems to get too much of it built up. Same with potassium too. Yes, I will deal with that. Yes, you can build up and you don't metabolize it very well. And there's lots of different forms of magnesium, and you have to kind of try different ones to find out which ones, but also the salt, meaning both. You said also potassium. If your sodium is off, you're going to urinate things out. If you're not absorbing fluid because you don't have enough salt, you're going to pass the minerals that you intake. They're just going to pee right out of you. You're not going to absorb. So having enough salt in your system allows for the cells to be plump and now absorb the minerals and hold on to them. And so you're not as depleted as often. But going back to when I was in the tractor and I was doing the post hole digger, I was like this. I was turned around a lot, and I was looking, and I was doing this. And I found that at the end of the day, after doing that for about a couple hours, I was stuck. I couldn't turn my neck. I was stuck. Literally, it was stuck like that. Okay. I immediately knew what to do, which is I went and took some magnesium. And then I'm also going to put a caveat to that, which is you have to do massage and stretching. Now let's get back to the chemistry in terms of why is magnesium so important. And it's in the same line of these minerals with it's running your muscles. Everything is a muscle. First of all, everything's neurologic, meaning everything is controlled by your brain. Everything that you do, your whole living purpose or whole living being is mediated and run by electrical signals. And that's your brain, because, again, you can pop a person in the head and boom, they go down. Nothing happens. You can stop a person's heart by hitting them in the head because it controls everything. Okay. So controlling everything through electricity, it has to have a medium to go through. Your electrical wires have copper wires, and as long as the copper is connected to copper, the electricity or the phone signal goes through or whatever. Well, your body is bathed in fluids. You are a living battery. And the fluids have to have the right ratios of minerals in order for the muscles to work. And as I said, everything's a muscle. A heart is a muscle, and it's an autonomic nervous system, which is it's pumping whether you think it or not. Now, magnesium is part of the muscle contraction. A muscle contracts, meaning to make my finger do this, that's a contraction. I'm contracting these muscles. These are what's called flexors. Everything in your body has a paired reaction between flexors and extensors. So this is an extensor. I'm extending the finger, I'm flexing the finger. There's muscles that have to contract in order to flex. At the same time, there's muscles that have to relax at the extensors, okay? And then for me to extend, my flexors have to relax, and my contraction of the extensors have to. So for every teeter-totter, there's a teeter and a totter. For every up, there's a down. For every down, there's an up, okay? So the way in the chemicals, because it's a chemical thing, it's actually chemical electromagnetic. What makes these muscles do this, okay? What makes the flexors flex is if you zoom in with a microscope and you look at the muscle fibers. Essentially, muscles look like hot dogs. They look like a bunch of hot dogs. And if you think about hot dogs as like a hot dog is like as meat inside of a membrane or a sausage. But think about hot dogs in a pack. They are stuck together. They are packed together. They're lying right next to each other. But if they're not frozen, then they can move. So you can take and you can bend like a thawed out pack of hot dogs. Okay. Now they're supposed to slide across from each other and everything, but they're packed in like that. And that's what muscle fibers look like, is that they actually are these different, like I said, cells that are kind of long cells. They kind of look like almost like those party balloons where the guy twists up and makes shapes out of it, okay? So it's filled with this fluid on the inside and then it has membrane. The way it contracts is if you zoom in, there are these little teeth. They're called ratchets. They're what's called myofibrils. So there's bigger and there's smaller. So inside the smaller thing, there are these little fingers and then there are these little like nubs that stick up. And what they are is it's a ratchet. And the way that a muscle flexes is a calcium ion, meaning a calcium, not even a particle of calcium, an ion of calcium, meaning it's basically the energy. It's the small part of a calcium atom. It's not even a whole calcium atom. It's the ion of an calcium. That goes in, and when calcium ions go in and flood the muscle fiber, that's the signal for the magnetic to attach. Now, these little things go tick, 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 and they attach. And you can have half of the fibers firing, you can have a third, 20%, all the way up to 100% firing. When it's 100%, when you're 100% flexed, that means that all of the ratchets have connected, and what they do is when they grab, they pull. So that's what makes a muscle shorten. So for instance, for my bicep to curl, do a bicep curl, these muscle fibers shorten up. They contract, they get fatter and shorter. And then these little ratchets go in there and hold it in place, okay? So then a muscle relaxes by magnesium. So when it's time to relax, meaning when you are ready to let go, okay, what happens is then magnesium goes in, and a magnesium ion goes in, and it displaces a calcium. Calcium ion makes it connect. Magnesium comes in, and then that means that the calcium ion goes out, because there can only be one at a time. You can't have them both there at a time. And they are opposed to each other. But like I said, it's a magnetic thing. It's a magnetic signaling. So magnesium allows for the ratchets to let go and for the muscle to elongate and relax. Now, that's important because, as I said, for every muscle to contract, you have to have another muscle that's paired with it to relax. So it cannot fully contract or half contract, whatever, unless it, and then also if it's stuck in a contraction, so this is going to muscle cramps. And like I said, my head was stuck and stuff like that, it's muscle cramps. The calcium ion is stuck there because there's not enough magnesium to go in and displace it. So a magnesium deficiency means you're going to have muscle cramps, means muscles will get stuck hard. Now that's important because it's going to affect, for instance, it's going to pull your head forward, it's going to get your neck stuck. It's eventually that can basically cause a disc to blow out or a disc to herniate in your neck or something like that. So what happens in terms of when people are talking about, let's say, I've got a herniated disc or a bulging disc in my back, where did it start? It started with muscles that were too tight. It started with too much contraction, not enough relaxation, not enough stretching. The muscles get stuck, tuck, 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 tuck. So it is a magnesium deficiency. All bad backs, all bad necks, all bad shoulders, all started with a magnesium deficiency long time ago, and it gets stuck there. And then now it then pulls on the bone or squishes the disc so that the disc squishes out. And then you got a herniated disc or bulging disc, but it's because those muscles ratchet down and get stuck. So magnesium is so important. The other thing about magnesium that's so important is because, for instance, your heart is a muscle. Your heart is this muscle that we think of it as a pump, as what other people think of different pumps, but it's not. What it is your heart is a spinner. It has 4 chambers. It's what we have it called a 4-chambered heart. Okay, and the way that it works is 2 chambers basically contract, and then the other chamber relaxes. Okay, and so the way that happens is that for the blood to go into this one has to squeeze, and then this one has to open up. So it squeezes and opens up. So for every squeezing of a chamber, there's another one that opens up. And you have valves too that open and close, but the valves are not really run by muscles. The valve are just run by the fluid that flows. So as the blood flows this way, if it starts to go backwards, the flap automatically closes and won't have a backflow. So it's not really muscles that control it. It's more so that's just kind of the mechanism of how it's built. But since it's a 4-chambered heart, you always have to have a combination of calcium and magnesium to run it. And so as the 4 chambers, as this one squeezes and this one opens, and then this one squeezes and opens, what it really does is it's a wringer. So like when you take a towel and you want to wring fluid out of it, excuse me, sorry about that. That's what the heart is doing as it's pumping blood, because not only does it have to push blood out, it has to suck blood into it. So it's a siphon and it's a squeeze. It's what's called a slip knot. And slip knot is actually, that's what it's talking about, is it's actually a heart. As the tighter you pull, the tighter, and then when you let go of it, then it loosens. So, but going back to magnesium is running the heart, okay? Because the heart never stops, okay? If it does, you're dead, right? And the heart has to stay in the correct rhythm. So magnesium, if we have a magnesium deficiency, we're going to have high blood pressure, or we're going to have low blood pressure, or we're going to have AFib, we're going to have fluttery stuff, because what's running this is this chemical or mineral, really. So heart issues are mediated by magnesium. Now, why don't I say calcium? Well, calcium is everywhere. Calcium is stored in your bones. You don't really store magnesium in your body like you store calcium. So calcium is the easy part. Magnesium is the hard part. And there's foods that have magnesium, but these foods are very hard to digest and they don't release their magnesium very well. And as you saw in that other question, there's lots of different kinds of magnesium. And if you don't get the right type for your particular deficiency, your body goes, nope, I'm not taking it. And it lets it go and it will pass right through your body. And it doesn't absorb into the tissues where you really need it. Magnesium is so important. So like I said, for muscles, like if you're getting muscle cramps, and I'll talk later about what the dosage is and how you do it. But let's go over what are the conditions of magnesium. Conditions of a magnesium deficiency is same thing as the conditions of a sodium or salt deficiency. Everything Absolutely everything you can think of. So cardiovascular issues, heart problems, breathing problems, because your diaphragm is a muscle. And if you don't have the correct diaphragm, that muscle's not working, then the bellows of your oxygen or your lungs don't open and close. And one of the most common issues with breathing problems, when you go to the doctor or the hospital and they do an x-ray, they see that most people with breathing, whether it be asthma or COPD or this other stuff, they have very undeveloped and oftentimes infection and fluid in their lower lungs. You have two lungs, but your lungs, like your heart, have four lobes: upper lobes, lower lobes. And the lower lobes are a bigger chamber, they hold more air. But if the diaphragm is not working, if the diaphragm is not flattening out, tightening up, and then flattening out, pulling air into those lower lobes, you're not getting full oxygen and you're not getting a full breath. And so that muscle is not pumping air all the way down. And so the lower lungs, which are the most important parts of the lungs, they're the bigger chambers, they get stagnant and they can build up infection. And the alveoli, which are the little air sacs, they can become, if you use it, don't use it, you lose it. They shrink and they don't get oxygen. So people with breathing problems, breathing exercises, that little thing where you blow in or you suck in and it makes that ball go up. There's the inhaling and then the blowing out. That exercises that muscle. But as I said, if we're having problems with the relaxation phase, a magnesium deficiency can help with breathing problems. As I said, heart problems. It can also help with diabetes because, see, blood sugar or prediabetes or blood sugar issues, if your muscles, if your cells are tight because they're stuck, because they don't have enough magnesium, that means when you eat sugar and there's blood sugar in your muscles, in your cells, then insulin can't get in. And in fact, even insulin, your pancreas has muscles to squeeze it to actually squirt the insulin into, same thing with your adrenal glands. That is you're not having correct magnesium. Your muscles are too tight and it cannot relieve or release or I'm sorry, receive the insulin. And so treating magnesium deficiency, you oftentimes see people's blood sugar come in line without even dealing with their sugar or even dealing with their insulin, meaning they don't have to inject insulin, they don't have to be on metformin or something like that, or if they are, they can get off of it or reduce it because now the cells are working better. Anxiety, tenseness, muscle, shoulder cramps, even the brain and the heart, meaning I feel like I got a weight on my chest. I feel like I got, basically just this anxiety. Magnesium helps you to relax. Digestive issues, because see, your muscles, all the tubes of your intestines, and this has what's called a peristaltic action. Peristaltic action means a wave-like undulation. So as you eat food, a wave-like undulation of your muscles go like this to squeeze the food down and through, and also to squeeze your food out of the intestines through what's called the villi or the intestinal, so that you can absorb nutrients. So inside your intestines, these little finger-like projections, and then you zoom in, there's even tiny, smaller finger-like projections. That's how food gets into my body. That's how my brain gets the fish fat. That's how my muscles get the protein, is it has to happen on a super microscopic level, all through your intestines. So your intestines have to undulate and squeeze the food, and then these little things, they kind of look like anemone. They open and close, and they have to actually absorb, suck up the juice of the food that's been prepared and all the different enzymes and stuff to separate stuff out so that the different specific nutrients can be then delivered. So magnesium can go in. That's where magnesium happens, is it happens inside the intestines, okay? So without proper intestinal thing, we're going to have irritable bowel syndrome. We're going to have constipation. We're going to have diarrhea. We're going to have all of these other problems. Lack of absorption, okay? Like this person talks, a lack of absorption. I can't absorb. I take it, but it doesn't get into my cells, because if we don't have the muscular contractions correct, then the food just sits there and it doesn't get massaged and it doesn't get put through, let alone also the train doesn't go all the way through and go from start to finish to coming out as a waste product, as pee and poop and stuff like that. Even sweat is a layer of muscles. If you don't have the muscle contractions on a just deep level, then your body can't detox very well. Those muscles can't work and you can't sweat very well, which means you cannot cool your body down. You can also not get toxins out of it. Okay, we talked about digestion. We talked about mood. Mood is sleeping. If you don't have good sleep, your whole body falls apart and you don't repair. And your brain falls apart too. Alzheimer's can be linked and dementia and loss of memory and all this other stuff, old age. You just didn't sleep well. You had decades of not sleeping well. One of the worst things about sleeping is number one, sleep apnea. You're choking to death. So apnea getting treated. So even a magnesium deficiency can fix apnea because that's a muscle. So if you're not breathing, and the esophagus, meaning the tongue, which really apnea, that's why it's in a lot of fat people. You talk to a person who does sleep apnea, who sells CPAPs, and 80 to 90% of who they sell the CPAP to is obese people. So it is fat. You're laying there and you're fat, then your body relaxes and it sucks your tongue down your throat. It sucks your esophagus down your throat, okay? But also it's made worse because your neck muscles are so tight that as you then relax, your tongue goes down the back of your throat and you choke. And so then you wake up and then you go through this, and that sends all these stress hormones in your body. So it's as if someone you were sedated and someone's like choking you 20 times or 50 times or 100 times a night. That's torture, okay? So sleep apnea is really, really bad, but that's related to magnesium deficiency. And then also the body can't fully relax. And so the brain can, and you wake up often. You wake up to go pee often. If you have to pee often, like 3 to 5 times a night, that's also a magnesium deficiency. You're robbing yourself that REM stage sleep, and then the brain breaks down because the brain cannot have enough REM stage sleep, meaning it can't have in at least 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep. You will not produce adrenaline that next day. You won't produce melatonin if you don't sleep correctly. Melatonin is what then turns into serotonin and dopamine and the happy hormones, meaning I love life and I can make it and I'm happy and I'm excited and I want to do this and have motivation and life is good. If you don't have the right hormones, life sucks, right? And so that whole thing in terms of a basic mineral and a muscle and just the electromagnetics of the body running everything can run everything about the show. Weight loss, one of the biggest things. There's 2 things. Everyone wants to work out. Everyone wants to starve themselves. Here's the first and 2 important things if you want to lose weight. Number 1, replace your magnesium. And I'll talk a little bit later about how do you replace magnesium. But take magnesium. Make sure you don't have a magnesium deficiency. Like I said, that has to do with insulin, has to do with leptin, that's another hormone that has to do with how hungry you are, how satisfied, what's called satiety, meaning if you eat, let's say half a meal than you normally would, but yet feel satisfied, and then you don't have to eat double, then you're not going to gain weight. It's also running hormones. So the hormones, like I said, leptin and insulin, all this other stuff, serotonin, dopamine, you feel happy, thereby you don't have to do this emotional eating. Your cells are relaxed so they can receive the nutrients, because most obese people, or even morbidly obese, super like 600 pounders or something like that, if you were to do an analysis of them, they are malnourished. They're kind of like the Ethiopian skinny people with the big bellies, like they're starving on the inside. How can that be? They're huge, but yet they're starving because they don't have nutrients. So the food that they're eating is poor food, but let alone even if they ate great food, but huge volumes of it and didn't have enough magnesium, it doesn't absorb. It's just going through their body, thereby then signaling their brain, eat more, and they get stuck on this. So if you cannot absorb the food because of lack of magnesium, because it cannot release and absorb it, then you're losing the nutrients that you're eating, thereby requiring your body, your brain saying you need to eat more. Then the second thing is dehydration. A lot of times people's bodies are going, I need to eat because they're dehydrated. You really need to drink water. You need a drink. So drink some iced tea, unsweetened iced tea, water with some lemon, water with some salt in it. The magnesium, some of the better magnesiums are a powdered magnesium. Okay. I'm still going on what are the other things? Skin conditions, okay? Psoriasis, eczema, these type of things. They have to do with, so for instance, a lot of psoriasis is coming from because your body is, your cells are so tight that it's not releasing the right type of, there's a number of different things that come out of your skin. Sweat comes out of your skin, oils come out of your skin. So bad oils and not enough oils means your skin breaks down and then you'll start to get a lot of problems. Okay. But we've seen other issues, which is it's not just not having the right oils, it's having the magnesium to then let the pores open up. Because if you look in a microscope, there should be a sheen of oil that comes out, and it's like you're putting on your own Vaseline. You're putting on your own coconut oil and olive oil. That's what the cells do, is it oozes this oil to moisturize and heal and protect the skin. But if the cells are so tight, then it can't get out. These little oil wells are locked shut. And so a lot of times people that have a magnesium deficiency are going to have skin conditions. And so by getting and replacing, now the cells relax, now the oils can come out, the sweat can come out, all of this other stuff, and then your skin can be healed by your own healing mechanisms that are there but have been just too tight and turned off. Boy, the list goes on. I could go on and on and on in terms of what magnesium does, is it affects everything. So now we go into, well, what magnesium should I take? So there's lots of different forms. There's calcium lactate, there's calcium gluconate, there's calcium citrate, there's calcium this, that, okay? So, and then there's also magnesium sulfate was an Epsom salt bath. So I say this one thing, if your muscles are really tight, if you got these muscle cramps, yes, find a good magnesium to internally take. And sometimes you have to take a double dose. So the one that I like that is a calcium, remember if it's a lactate or whatever, it's also calcium carbonate, or I'm sorry, magnesium carbonate, all this. So magnesium should be paired with calcium. So the CalMag that you see, so Standard Process has a CalMag, there's a number of different companies. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 magnesium for every calcium. Or if you're getting extra calcium, it's 2 calcium for every magnesium. So, but there's some calcium with the magnesium. But the company that makes Calm, it's this fizzy drink, kind of like a Alka-Seltzer or a Bromo seltzer, and you just put some in your water. And I like the one that's like a lemon raspberry flavor, and it tells you the dosage. So a regular dose is what it says on the bottle, meaning the container. This is a regular dose. Put it in some water, drink it down. Another great way to get magnesium in is to take an Epsom salt bath. You can go to the grocery store and you get Epsom salt anywhere, but it's not just a little bit. What you're doing is you put a bathtub full of water. Don't make it super hot. You can't be in it, but even in the wintertime, it's good to have a hot bath, right? So fill up the bathtub, and into that, you're putting 4 pounds. People go, wow, that's a lot. You're using 4 pounds. So if it's that milk carton one, it's the whole milk carton. If it's that big 6-pound bag one, it's like 3/4 of the bag. 4 pounds, don't worry, it's not super expensive. And then you soak in that for at least 40 minutes. I like an hour. Now, what that does is magnesium actually absorbs through your skin. And this is proven through serum levels. So I've had people in the past, trolls that trolled me on my post videos and said, there's no scientific evidence. Yes, there is. You look it up. There are serum, meaning take a person's blood before and after, and you can measure the level of magnesium in their blood. And after an Epsom salt bath with a high enough concentration, long enough saturation, this was only 20 minutes, magnesium goes up. So it absolutely goes in, and it goes right into your muscles, okay? So taking an Epsom salt bath is a great way to get magnesium. If you're super tight, about 3 times a week. Now, taking magnesium internally, I don't like the capsules. I like the powders better. Premier Research Labs makes one that I sell. You can go to my website, strategichealing.us, a shop, And that one's a powder, and that one is like a watermelon flavor, and you mix it in some warm water, because if you mix it in cold water, it's a little clumpy. But so a little bit warm water, and that one, people like the taste of that one. That one works really well. Sometimes you need to do a double dose. Now, one of the warnings about taking magnesium is that if you take, so oftentimes people want to know, well, how much? I need to know my body. You can do a test to what's called bowel tolerance, meaning take a dose and keep taking a dose until you get loose stools, right? Now, some people that go to work don't want to do that. And so what you do is you spread the dose out. So if you are getting these deep muscle cramps, you probably need to do a double dose, which is mean do a first dose in the morning and do a second dose in the evening. Now, coincidentally, taking it at nighttime helps you to sleep better. But if you have to have some loose stools in the beginning when you're first testing it out, be careful, having flatulence, be careful of farting. Don't trust a fart, because you can shite your pants, right? So, and sometimes too, that's a really good thing if you need to clean yourself out. Like if you need to go for a colonoscopy, they give you that drink, and that's magnesium citrate, and that will give you a blowout. So magnesium, and why does it do it? Is because it relaxes the muscles of the intestines, and water flows into it, and then it floods it out. But it's such a muscle relaxant that it is targeted toward the intestines, and that helps to kind of clean you out. So taking magnesium is so important for these different conditions. And as I said, why now? Because people have been exerting their body because of the summer, and then also post-COVID too. Now, magnesium also is very helpful for your whole immune system. Like I said, it runs the show for everything. But why post-COVID and even post just yesterday? Because look at the news. Look at the world is so stressful. And people, the more stressed you are, the more you eat up your magnesium. And once you run out of your magnesium reserves then you're going to start getting symptoms, right? And again, some of the symptoms of right now is I'm stressed to the hilt. I'm afraid, I'm scared, my brain's not working correctly, my heart's fluctuating, my digestion, I got a bad belly, I'm nervous, like, the nervous little baby. Everyone's like a nervous little baby right now. So we all need to take magnesium to calm down and to get more in our right minds, and to also get your immune system working better so that you can have a better adaptability of the immune system. And also, like I said, this is preparing you later. If Alzheimer's and dementia and the bad stuff that happens to you, and falling down and breaking a hip, happens later in your 80s, and it happens from a deficiency, wouldn't it be smart to start doing it right now? And meaning, could I head those things off? Could I be in my 80s and 90s and still be a spry person and have all my wits about me and do what I want to do and walk up and down the stairs? There's plenty of people who are 80s, 90s, and 100s that are running marathons and doing gardening, and you don't have to worry, and you don't have to have that little button for them. They are functioning, healthy people. And what's the difference is their nutrients are up. They have good, healthy nutrients. They have a good immune response. They have a good inflammatory response. Magnesium also mediates the inflammatory response. Pro-inflammatory is tight. Anti-inflammatory is relaxed. So anti-inflammatory is magnesium. Okay, so I think I covered it all. Any more questions? Let me go back to this one. Is there such thing as using magnesium quicker than most? Yeah, like I said, the powder ones. And like I said, the fastest way to actually get magnesium that I prefer, and it's not a replacement for internally taking it, but it is the go-to if your muscles are really tight and you're having difficulty absorbing different magnesium and it's not working for you. Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate, the soak, it helps everybody. And I dare you to try it, especially these guys that are working, like the guys that are working out on our building and our, tractors and stuff like, oh, I'm strong, I don't have to do that. I'm telling you what, they're getting leg cramps, their body is super tight. Have them take an Epsom salt bath, right? And see if they tell the difference. They will tell you they sleep better, they can stretch better. Oh, let me go back to the other thing is after you do your magnesium, after, let's say, you take that bath, you want to do some stretching. So after I got my neck unhinged, then I could start stretching. And then now I was doing some neck stretches and jaw stretches and stuff like that. So I can reset that muscle instead of being shortened and stuck in that. So I can reset it. Like, the waistband has to be reset. if it's too tight, okay? And then also when you relax a muscle and then stretch it, when a muscle's too tight, it's actually squeezed and it becomes dry and it lacks blood flow and it lacks oxygen. So it's a starving, emaciated muscle and organ and body. So by getting the magnesium, it helps to relax it. The blood goes in it, and then as we stretch it and move it, then it starts to pump, which then cleans it out and revives the muscle, revives the heart, revives the lungs, revives your neck, revives the disc, gets the discs to plump back up and rehydrate, thereby not having a back problem, not having a neck problem. Gets the shoulder. If my shoulders are all stuck because I'm just all super tight and my neck is all tight, get some magnesium, get relaxed, and do some shoulder stretches, doorway stretches, and elongate and lengthen those things and invigorate those things. Then you'll have the magnesium plus the physiological change that you really need in order to reset it and go back to where it was before it became deficient, thereby buying you more time, right? And always remember, if I start getting muscle cramps, if I start having fatigue and these different types of things, if I'm trying to lose weight, don't forget your magnesium, your water, all of these different things. If I'm trying to sleep better, don't forget your magnesium, these different types of things, right? So until next time, this is Jason Eagle, your natural health authority. Bye-bye, everybody.